55. What?
Thank you. Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-10, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertising such notice in the Home News Tribune, the Asbury Park Press, the Board Office, the schools, and on Cablevision Channel 118 and Verizon Vios 24, and by filing such notice with the Township Clerk. This meeting was scheduled for Tuesday, April 16th, 2019. The Board will take formal action on payment of bills and other agenda items. Mr. Mara?
The Old Bridge Township Board of Education acknowledges that the law of this state establishes that members of the public, including members of the board, have the right to record public board meetings using audio or video recording devices, provided that that act of recording does not interfere with the business of this public board meeting. Therefore, the board makes it known that any such recording is to be considered the private recording of the individual and in no manner represents the official record of this board. The board therefore takes no responsibility for such private recording and completely disavows any future use.
Thank you, Mr. Mara. Roll call, please.
DeCarroll.
Here.
DePrima.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
Ellis Foster.
Here.
Lent. Reed.
Here.
Singh.
Here.
Silikowski.
Here.
Callie.
Here.
Quorum exists.
Can we rise for the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm sorry. Please remain standing. I'm asking for a moment of silence in memoriam. Move the board acknowledge the death of Emil Bud Healy, retired woodshop teacher, Old Bridge High School, and express its deepest sympathy to his family and friends. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Dunn, I believe you're reading the Code of Ethics Corner.
Absolutely, Madam President. Make decisions in terms of the educational welfare of the children and to seek to develop and maintain public schools that meet the individual needs of all children regardless of their ability, race, creed, sex, or social standing.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Can I have a motion, please, for the approval of the minutes?
I'll move it. I'll second.
That's Jill DeCarroll. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ellis Foster.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Singh.
Yes.
Silikowski.
Yes.
DeCarroll.
Yes.
DePrima.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Callie.
Yes.
The minutes are approved.
Thank you. So we're going to move on to the report of our student representative.
How's everyone doing? So Old Bridge, we always have a lot of stuff going on in April. Actually, tomorrow's our Battle of the Classes that happens every year, and we had our Spirit Week all this week. Monday was Neon Day, Tuesday was Dynamic Duo, Wednesday was Class Colors, and Thursday is our class theme day, whatever your class's theme is. And today we had our Birds, Botany, and Butterflies had their plant sale, where they sold multiple plants, different kinds. And we have our new performance show called Sunsets. We just actually had auditions for that. That'll be May 1st. And with our Battle of the Classes for our Hype Week, we had a penny war where each class was representing and raising money for a different charity. And when we get back, we have our AP testing, and that's about it for April. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Okay, we don't have any recognition on the schedule, so I'm going to move on to the superintendent's report.
Good evening. Mr. Cittadino was unable to be with us tonight. He had his own son's personal event, which he was attending. I will read the report that he provided for us. Old Bridge High School was presented the National Athletic Trainers Association Safe Sports School First Team Award for its sports medicine program. The award, which champions safety and recognizes secondary schools that have met the recommended standards to improve safety in sports, is valid for 3 years through April 2022. The award reinforces the importance of providing the best level of care, injury prevention, and treatment. On December 8th, 2019, the Old Bridge Township Public Schools Administration, I'm sorry, this says December 8th, but I believe it is May 8th. On May 8th, the Old Bridge Township Public Schools Administration Board Presidency and Mayor Henry are invited to Trenton to meet with New Jersey DOE Commissioner Dr. Repillette, Senator Thompson, Assembly Dancer, and Assemblyman Clifton to discuss possible solutions to district state aid reduction concerns. We will use this opportunity to continue our advocacy for our schools, programs, and children. As we continue to review all fixed costs, we have attempted to negotiate contractual obligations for certain services. One particular vendor that provides the district with school security and safety intelligence to thwart external threats and information to assist students contemplating self-harm has been receptive to reducing costs. The vendor has agreed to reduce district costs by $7,000 in exchange for professional speaking services on the topic of school security threat assessment by the district superintendent. Last week, we began making notifications to staff members at the secondary level who will be impacted by a reduction in force and transfers. Remaining notifications will take place as the budget process continues. All staffing is contingent upon the budget process. An additional reminder that we have an early dismissal on Thursday, April 18th. We return from spring break on Monday, April 29th. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hoker. Do we have any correspondence?
No correspondence.
Okay, thank you. Special committee reports.
Yeah, we had a curriculum meeting several weeks ago, and Ms. Kyler and Ms. Harrington discussed the collaborative initiative with art and special education. What this is the special ed classes will come into a regular classroom, art class, and the students that are working with the special ed kids, they're working together, and it gives these kids, I guess, a good feeling that they're young teachers teaching these kids. And the program is doing very, very well. It's something that we did for many, many years when I was a school teacher here. I worked with a fellow by the name of Herb Lupeloff. Mr. Reed, you remember him. He used to come into my class with his special needs kids, and I would show these kids how to sand different projects, what the program's all about. And we did this for quite a few years, and they continue it, and I really enjoy it. Dr. Calandra discussed Memorial, Voorhees, and Sandburg School as NJDOEA target schools, and we got some funding for this. Dr. Cascone provided a brief update on eVision's math implementation program. He advised the committee that Dr. Ferreira couldn't make the meeting, but she will be coming in May or June and give the entire board a report, an overview. Ms. Kyler and Ms. Maury presented a summary on their French abroad program. What this is two teachers, they take approximately 15, 20 students, they go overseas on a big ship, no, they fly, and they went to Paris this year. They stayed several days in Paris, and then they went to the southern part of France, and they stayed with the families, the French families. And hopefully we can continue the program and bring some French kids over to our schools. And that's basically the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Solikowski. Okay, we're going to move on to hearing of the residents on agenda items only. Mr. O'Neill?
Tim O'Neill, OBEA. I'm not here to talk about what everyone is here for tonight. I wanted to talk about the change of the Class C secretary job description. I forget what item it is, but it is on the agenda. I understand that this is being done apparently as a cost-cutting measure. They are adding the option of reducing the Class C secretaries from 12-month employees to 10-month employees. So I had a few questions that I would hope could be addressed. Approximately how many secretaries are going to be reduced to 10-month employees? Is there a plan to cover their summer responsibilities? And exactly how much does the district expect this move to save? Thank you.
Mr. O'Neill, I can get back to you with the number of secretaries that could potentially go from 12 months to 10 months. I don't have that number in front of me. It is fluid based upon the budget process. As far as the amount of money savings, that would depend upon the number of positions that would go from 12 to 10 months. I think you asked one other thing.
Is there a plan to cover their summer responsibilities? They do help get the district ready for September.
We would plan to cover any of the responsibilities for the positions that are being cut.
Is there anybody else on agenda items? Okay, moving on. There's nothing under policy this month, so we're moving on to curriculum. I need a motion to move items 1 through 3.
I'll move it.
Reed will second.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Roll call, please.
Ellis Foster,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Singh. Solikowski,
Yes.
DeCarroll,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Callie. Resolutions 1 through 3 passed.
Thank you. There's nothing under athletics, so we're going to move on to finance. I need a motion to move items 1 through 8.
Then we'll make a motion, finance items 1 through 8, Madam President.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yes, Ms. Callie, I do have some discussions, please. I have spent 28 years in the private sector and 13 years in the public sector. Many of those years have been in union shops, and in my experience, labor leaders that are uninformed cause the most pain to the entities they are associated with, and with more specifically the members they represent. In some cases, that can extend to a community school, its students, its parents, and the entire staff. On the bill list is a vendor called Italian Global Services. This vendor is a professional cleaning service that cleans all the buildings in our district and also supplies cleaning supplies needed to clean the buildings. One of the OBA president's documented budget proposals to assist the district with the budget crisis is to deprivatize custodians. The average salaries of the custodians in the RFP just awarded for next year for custodial services is $17.50 per hour. The OBA president has proposed to eliminate privatized custodians and hire in-house custodians new OBEA members and to pay them a wage that is below the minimum wage, thus breaking the law, and an amount less than what we pay the student employees who work here in the TV studio. Last week at the agenda session, after an inquiry from the OBA president, I asked if he ever took the time to read the request for proposals for custodial and management services, and his answer was no. I also asked how much square footage was in some of our buildings, and his answer was he did not know. I asked these questions because the square footage and the requirements to be a custodian is contained in the request for proposal. Since he did not read the IRP, does he know what a Black Seal license is and how long is required to get a Black Seal license? I won't make any assumptions about his knowledge. His proposal was reduced from 100 custodians in the district to 80 last week and ignores many of the statutory and regulatory issues surrounding custodial services and will probably force us to close all our schools on October 15th until May 15th because none of the non-existent 80 or 100 custodians that he proposed will have a Black Seal license. The Black Seal license holders, the custodians, are statutorily required in all buildings during the heating season. This proposed solution is an indication of how serious he is taking our financial crisis. To continue on the budget crisis, he has also stated at various forums that the state aid is only decreasing by $1.9 million. What he is doing is comparing apples to oranges and misleading the public and readers of his messages. The budget recently submitted to the state clearly identifies a $3,017,000 reduction in state aid for 2019-2020. In his comments, he is comparing state payments to state payments from year to year from a report generated by the state which is not budget to budget. This was explained to him at an agenda session, and he sought no clarification or further explanation on the issue. To quantify this, in the 18-19 budget is the state aid amount of $45,227,000. The state is actually paying us only $44,170,000 this year, a loss of $1,056,000 this year. We have funded this shortage of revenue in 18-19 by using our savings or reserve account. The 18-19 budget was built on a basis of $45,227,000 in state aid. In 2019-2020, state aid is only $42,209,000, a $3,017,000 reduction in state aid. Cumulative over the 2 years, our state aid loss is $4,074,000. The state in its notifications, the media reports based on state information, and OBEA pronouncements only indicating a $1.9 million reduction is misleading in reference to its impact on our school district. I hope this clarifies the impact and addresses these misleading statements. He has also taken a position in terms of the budget that we should have prepared for state aid reduction in past years because our enrollment is down. This ignores the complexity of the change in enrollment in the last 10 years. In 2008, we had 1,199 special ed students, and in 2018, we have 1,293 students. This increase adds millions to the budget and significantly impacts classroom space demands. He ignores that paraprofessional benefit package was restored to full coverage from single coverage during the same period. He ignores the transition from half-day kindergarten to full-day kindergarten, which doubled the numbers of teachers required for that program. He ignores the millions invested in the last 6 years to make our school facilities safe and secure for all students and staff. He has also neglected to factor into his comments other increased costs of collective bargaining agreements for wages and benefits, which have grown significantly in the last 10 years. Without seeking any guidance on budget regulations or statutes relating to reserves, and his comments on preparedness and past mistakes, he should know that every school district is only allowed to set aside an amount equal to 2% of its previous year's total spending into unrestricted reserves or savings accounts. And this is not cumulative. The maximum savings account is 2%. I repeat, this is not cumulative. 2% is the maximum we may hold, and it's not per year, it's each year. This is only possible if there are unspent appropriations or extra revenue. If these don't exist, there is no money for this reserve or savings accounts. If a district is fortunate enough to have unspent or extra under-budgeted revenue that exceeds the 2% of last year's spending, it is required to be used to reduce the local tax levy, and if that were the case, that would have dramatically worsened our position today. If the OBEA president is aware of some mechanism to accumulate cash and comply with statutes and regulations, I would like him to share them with us, but they do not exist. Our spending in the last 6 years has elevated the quality of our educational programs for all students in Old Bridge. Again, the OBEA president omits all of these from his comments. Finally, state funding formulas have been in place since 1996. For the last 20 years, the state has unilaterally ignored them and funded districts using a method called hold harmless, which is basically whatever you received last year is what you will receive next year with minimal changes. How would any of the 172 districts that lost state aid last year know that at the end of June, after the budget was approved by the state, a law would be passed that created an upheaval in all districts by reducing state aid after all financial commitments were in place? If the OBEA president knew of the pending cuts, as he claims we should have known, why didn't he tell us and we would have used our bank cap before it expired? He offers no credible solutions to the crisis and only mischaracterizes the past. The Board of Education and the administration have been working feverishly to resolve this problem regardless of the misinformation being spread on social media and public meetings by various groups. We are evaluating all practical solutions, but the custodial solution mentioned above is not practical, may very well be illegal, and could lead to the closing of our schools. I hope this clarifies some of the misinformation that is being disseminated to the public and to the employees of the district. A final comment. Mr. Cittadino made an impassioned request last month to OBA leadership which would mitigate the impact of this state-imposed crisis for 1 year, and my impression from the OBA leadership's response is that it was publicly rejected by them using sound bites from previously held board meetings, which were taken out of context and misstatements of the facts. In effect, it is our problem, not the OBEA's problem. I hope much of my commentary here tonight makes it into OBEA sound bites, but I won't make any assumptions. Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, and members of the public.
Any other comments, discussion?
Mr. O'Neill, hold on. I'm sorry. Everybody else here is waiting for an issue that's really, really important to them, and they have to wait till the general public. Yeah, I'm sorry. Everybody else is waiting to speak on an issue that is very, very important to them, just as you are. So if you would please wait until the public portion on any issues. This was part of the finance report. I understand your frustration, but if you would please wait and follow the agenda, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Reed. Voting on finance. Singh.
Yes.
Singh.
Yes.
Sulikowski.
Yes.
DeCaro.
Yes.
DePrima.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Ellis Foster,
Yes.
Callie.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through 8 pass.
Okay, non-certificated personnel, I need a motion to move items 1 through 3.
Yes, separating 1 for discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, any discussion on, do you want to separate that out for discussion, or do you want to?
Yeah, basically what I can do is read them all off, but I prefer doing it by, department. It's a lot easier.
So you wanna-
Non-certified personnel office, move the board, approve the retirement of the following staff members with deep appreciation for their years of dedicated service to the district. Laura Woodward, Old Bridge High School, 39 years. Cynthia Reed, maintenance, 26 years. And Debbie Petruzzi, Sandberg, 11 years. I wish these people a lot of luck, and I know them all very well. Thank you. Let's vote now.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, roll call, please.
Singh. Silikowski.
Yes, and good luck.
DeCarroll.
Yes.
DePrima.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Ellis Foster.
Yes.
Reed. Callie.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through 3 pass.
Okay, non-certificated personnel operational, there's only one item on the agenda. I need a motion, please.
I'll move it.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yes, Ms. Callie, on item number 1, we're on the line that says December 23rd, 24th, 25th. The 28th needs to be changed to the 30th.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mara. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Silikowski.
Yes.
DeCarroll.
Yes.
DePrima.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Ellis Foster.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Singh.
Yes.
Callie.
Yes.
Resolution 1 passes.
Thank you.
We get more volume, or nobody can hear, everybody's really struggling to hear, nobody can hear anything in the back.
Where's,
You got to be close to the microphones, actually.
okay. Okay, moving on to non-certificated personnel other. I need a motion to move items 1 through 7.
I'll move it.
Thank you. Second, please. Thank you, Mr. Singh. Any discussion?
Yes, separating 1 and 2 for discussion. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, we have some more retirees over here. Ann Hackett, Miller School, 14 years. Dorothy Adna Tutlofi, I believe, Sandberg, 22 years. Lori Raba, 28 years. Lois? Okay. And Dale Blair, 29 years. I want to commend and thank this Board of Education for working with the administration and restoring, because it never went through, the benefits for the paras, because we're on your side. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
DeCarroll.
Yes.
DePrima.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Ellis Foster.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Singh.
Yes.
Silikowski.
Yes.
Callie.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through 7 pass.
Okay, moving on to certificated personnel. I need a motion to move items 1 through 16.
Dunn will move certificated personnel items 1 through 16, Madam President.
Thank you.
Reed will second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes,
I would like to
there's administrative correction on page 10, under item number 8. Move the board employ the following middle school guidance counselors for up to, that should say 180 hours. And in the third line where it says 2018-19, 90 hours, it should say 270 hours.
Thank you. Mr. Solakowski?
Yeah, discussion, we have a couple of more retirees over here. I know these folks. Ralph DeLorio, athletic trainer at the high school. Joanne Alvarez, special education. Cynthia McCollich, special ed. And Nancy Rose, Carl Sandburg Middle School guidance. I want to wish these people a lot of luck, and so far, just on this one agenda, we have 291 years of service, good service from these folks. I wish you a lot of luck. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
DeCaro,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Ellis Foster, Reed, Singh, Sulikowski,
Yes.
Callie.
Yes?
Resolutions 1 through 16 pass.
Moving on to non-certificated personnel transportation. Can I have a motion to move item 1?
I'll move it.
Thank you. Second, please.
Dunn will second, Madam President.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please, Mr. Mara.
DePrima,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Ellis Foster,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Singh, Sulikowski,
Yes.
DeCaro,
Yes.
Callie.
Yes.
Resolution 1 passes.
Okay, supplies, equipment, and services. I need a motion to move items 1 through 19.
DeCaro, move.
Thank you. Second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Dunn,
Yes.
Ellis Foster,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Singh, Sulikowski,
Yes.
DeCaro,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Callie.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through 19.
Okay, moving on to transportation. I need a motion, please, to move items 1 through 3.
Dunn will move transportation items 1 through 3, Madam President.
Thank you. Second, please.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ellis Foster,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Sulikowski,
Yes.
DeCaro,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Callie.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through.
Okay, under miscellaneous, may I please have a motion to move items 1 through 6?
Dunn will move miscellaneous items 1 through 6, Madam President.
Thank you. Second, please.
DeCaro will second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Reed,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Sulikowski,
Yes.
DeCaro,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Ellis Foster,
Yes.
Callie.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through 6 pass.
Okay, under Board Secretary and Board Business, I need a motion to move items 1 through... Okay. A motion, please, to move items 1 through 14.
Separating number 8 for voting purposes and discussion.
Any discussion?
Yes,
Wait, I'm sorry. Were you making a motion and separating 8, or you just...
separated 8 for voting purposes and discussion.
Okay, so I still need a motion.
Dunn will make a motion, Madam President.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion.
Okay, as I was going through the agenda, I looked at this motion to approve Director of Plant Services as follows for 2019-20 school year. And there's some, I don't know what the job description is, but, you know, right to know offices, health and safety, isn't this part of the job description, all these items on here? Or is there a stipend attached to this above the regular paycheck?
No, there are no stipends attached to these, no.
But are these items?
These are statutory positions that are mostly required to be held by the facilities director. There's no stipend attached to them. Just part of the facilities director's responsibility, but he has to be named in these positions to monitor and to direct all
Okay,
these
I
programs.
understand, thank you. Okay.
Mr. Parton? Discussion on item 14.
Yeah, on item 14, this is the same motion that was on your agenda last year for a couple of issues. It's the doctrine of necessity. It is what you have to pass when you do not have 5 eligible board members to vote on an issue due to conflicts under the School Ethics Act, and because you have 5 board members with relatives who will be affected by, or who are directly or indirectly supervised by the Chief School Administrator, Mr. Cittadino. We're passing the doctrine, or you're voting on the doctrine of necessity to enable everybody to participate in the discussion of his evaluation for the 18-19 school year.
Thank you. Mr. Silikowski, would you still like to vote separately on item number 8?
No, I'm going to vote at the general group. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to vote yes.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Reed,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Silikowski,
Yes.
DeCarroll,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Ellis Foster,
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Resolutions 1 through 14 pass.
Okay, now we're moving on to hearing of residents on any school district-related issue. And Mr. O'Neill's already at the podium.
Thank you, Tim O'Neill, OBEA. I promise I won't be long. They'll cut me off after 5 minutes. I do need to address a few of the comments made today, but I won't bore you by responding to all of them. The references to the social media attacks, what the OBA actually did was post video clips from Board of Ed meetings where multiple Board of Ed members voiced concerns about declining enrollment and the district's reliance on state aid. As far as a way to prepare, it's not popular, but the main way that the district could have better prepared to handle cuts or additional costs was to raise the tax levy, the 2% capped amount consistently, and not allow bank cap to expire. This is, if you ask any business administrator, they will tell you the same thing. Again, some of those videos are actually our business administrator saying exactly those things. Again, it's not popular, but reliance on the local tax levy prevents you from being reliant on state aid. We were to rely on state aid. That is a large part of how we're in this situation. So the Board of Ed at the last meeting asked the OBA to come to the table to try to help solve the problems that the district is facing. I said from the start we're not going to do it on the back of our members, but I did offer possible solutions via email. One of those solutions was to find a way to make deprivatizing the custodians a feasible option for the district by making it a savings versus the privatized custodians. Yes, our current salaries and our guides are below the minimum wage. We were looking to find a way to make it work for the district and for the people who would eventually be hired in those positions. After asking us to come to the table, I received no meaningful response on these. I did get an email telling me that I wasn't following proper email protocol, but no response to the content, including that, going to pay to play for athletics rather than cutting freshman athletics, as we hear is happening now, and adding revenue-generating enrichment programs, as I've seen in other districts, including the one where my kids go. Again, no meaningful response. The $1.9 million reduction, you take the 18-19 state aid numbers and you subtract the 19-20 state aid numbers. They're public. It's not misinformation. It is the difference between what we got for this year and what we're getting for next year. That's public information for anybody. I'm going to ignore the rest because it's not about me. I know a bunch of the stuff he says I don't know, but I don't really care about that. What I do care about is presenting some questions that I believe the public and the employees deserve answers to. First of all, what cuts has the district already decided to make? What possible cuts have been dismissed or rejected? What options have been considered for increasing revenue? Why does the minimal budget information offered at the March meeting include a $5.7 million reduction in anticipated revenue from 2018-19? Nowhere near that amount in state aid has been lost at this point, so it seems as if we're losing revenue from other areas. Administration has cited increases in salaries and insurance and custodial costs as reasons the district must make cuts. Why didn't the administration prepare for these predictable increases? With or without aid cuts, we would not have had the money to cover the cost increases that they've been citing. This is what I do at Board of Ed meetings. I sometimes rally people to show up. You don't need to do that for Shara, apparently. But I come and I ask questions, and I repeatedly request transparency. I request sharing information with the public and the employees. If administration and the Board of Ed think that that's bad for the district, we have much bigger problems than funding cuts. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else who would?
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I understand the position that our district is facing based on the reduced state funding. With that said, let me be clear that I am here tonight because I love and support our public schools, all of them. And I love us and support our staff. I've been watching these meetings on TV and watching the discussions revolving two supposed solutions to the funding crisis: closing a school, particularly Cheesequake, and privatizing of the paraprofessionals. Neither one of these should ever have been in consideration. Many of our board members have ran on a platform in the past that they support our neighborhood schools, that they would never support closing any of our schools. This has been discussed quite a few times in the past. Some of you were not on the board and rallied with the community to keep our schools open. Maybe the employment of your family members is more important than keeping the doors to a school open now. In the past few meetings, I have watched Board of Ed members state that the students come first. As a parent of a current student and as a parent of a recent Old Bridge High School grad, I find it appalling that you would use our children as pawns in your game. Let me be clear. I know that there are some board members sitting up there tonight that do sincerely care about our students first and foremost. But I also know that 1/3 of the current board member has conflicts of interest. Mr. Dunn, during the draconian cuts a number of years ago, your wife, who was not a tenured teacher at the time, lost her job. You then worked with the administration that was in place at that time to hire her back, and you suddenly had the union support to get you voted onto the board. Ms. Callie, our board president, who cannot fully perform her responsibilities due to the fact that she cannot attend negotiations because of health conflict. Your daughter was looking for a permanent full-time job, and when Nancy Mongan abruptly resigned from the board, your friends on the board quickly gathered at the end of that meeting with you to devise a plan for her replacement. Very coincidentally, on your first full board meeting, your daughter appears on the agenda for a permanent position. So don't tell me that your number one priority is our students when obviously it is the employment of family members. All 9 of you have been placed on the board to represent the people of Old Bridge. That includes the students, the staff, and the taxpayers. I place the fault of this financial crisis directly onto you, the board members. Your job is to ensure that the district is well run, not to protect the administration. Now, don't get me wrong, I like our members of administration, but let's face it, they are big boys and big girls and can defend themselves. You 9 work for the people. So far, you have tried to place the resolution to this crisis on our students by closing schools and threatening to take away our paraprofessionals. You have tried to place the resolution to this crisis onto the staff with threats of privatization. And you have gone to the state Senate to ask them for permission to push this problem onto the backs of the taxpayers. Many of you have stated that you did not see this coming. When I was on the board back in 2014, I chaired strategic planning. We ordered a professional demographer to outline the future of our district. The demographer had projected a steady decline of approximately 150 students each year between 2015 and 2019. Between the school year 2016-2017 and the 2017-18 school year, we had a decline of 159 students, right in line with the demographer's projections. Yet the district hired 16 new certificated staff. The board had the information they needed to make the best determination on the administration's recommendations for new positions, but failed to stop it. If you go to the Old Bridge Township Tax Office webpage, you can see the amount of homes in town that are behind on their property taxes. The list is huge, many pages, hundreds of homes. Every neighborhood on this block in this town has had homes foreclosed. But you want the taxpayers to come to your rescue while your friends and family members enjoy their paychecks and excellent benefits. You may have noticed that I stated that you were placed on the board. I did not state that you were elected to the board. Since the elections were moved from April to November, only one person has won a seat without getting 1, 2, or 3 on the ballot position, that being Mr. Matt Solikowski. You see, politics plays a big part in this. Until very recently, the county clerk would not even select the ballot positions in the public. The county clerk herself would select those ballot positions until it was reported to the state. The Board of Ed members now work with the Democratic Party, since they control the county clerk's office, to ensure that they receive those ballot positions. Politics has no place in our school district. Look at what politics does at the state level. Old Bridge is getting hammered while Lakewood has a waterfall of cash coming in, because Lakewood has the ability to determine elections at the state level. It hurts our students and staff. The Board of Ed election should be moved back to April to put the ownership of the election process back in the district hands. It would also put the budget back where it belongs, into the hands of the people. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kira Vela, 5th grader at Walter M. Schra Elementary School. In my opinion, Miss Barrett is a great principal because she encourages good behavior and shows kindness, caring, fairness, respect, responsibility, trustworthiness, and citizenship through her actions. She interacts with us instead of hiding in her office all day. Miss Barrett spends her lunch and recess time with us every Friday and speaks about ways we can make our school better, which is very important. She knows all our names, which is hard to do, and shows she cares about us, each one of us. Every Friday, she helps us with our kindness wall and shows that being kind is rewarding, even if you don't get a trophy or a certificate. She is a perfect role model for everyone and is even a great teacher. She used to teach computers, but now she's the principal of her school, and we get to see her every day. We all love Miss Barrett as our principal, and our school wouldn't be the same without her. Thank you for your consideration. Hello, I am Cindy Linder Messina. I am in 4th grade at Chirra School. I have known Mrs. Barrett since I started Chirra in 2014. She was my computer teacher for 3 years and became principal when I was in 3rd grade. She helped me through rough times and was always understanding when I needed her. She always listens to my problems and finds ways to solve them. I have many reasons why Mrs. Barrett should stay at Chirra, but I'm not going to list every one of them, but I will list a few. First, Mrs. Barrett visits each classroom every morning to greet us with a good morning. This makes me and other students eager to start our morning off on a high note. Next, Mrs. Barrett knows the names of each and every one of the students in our school and treats us like we are her own children. We know that she is always there for us when we need her to be. Earlier this year, I had issues with a fellow student. When Mrs. Barrett found out about this situation, she helped me and the other student work through it together. She made sure everything turned out just fine. We know Mrs. Barrett. We can always count on Mrs. Barrett to listen to our problems and find ways to solve them. The motto of Chirra is one school, one team, one goal. Mrs. Barrett has brought us together, and we cannot imagine Chirra without her. Thank you for listening. I hope this helps you understand why we need Mrs. Barrett to stay at Chirra.
Do you need this? I probably need this. Sorry.
Dear Dr. Hoker and members of the Board of Education, during these challenging times, we are aware that you are faced with many difficult decisions. We appreciate the effort and compassion that you have shown in handling the crisis currently facing the Old Bridge School community. We can only imagine the endless hours that you have dedicated to addressing the many concerns and heartfelt stories that are being shared with you. On a more personal level, the staff of Chirra would like to take a moment of your time to speak about our principal, Mrs. Barrett. The success of a school is often judged by state test scores, awards, ratings, or the extent of the available extracurricular activities. However, we at Chirra believe that our true success is in the cohesive relationships that we build and foster every day with one another, our families, and most importantly, our students. Over the last 2 years, the 3 words, ONE, have made a very powerful impact at Chirra due to the leadership and commitment of Mrs. Barrett. One is not only Mrs. Barrett's mantra, it is the philosophy that has transformed Chirra from merely a workplace to our home. Mrs. Barrett has been instrumental in creating opportunities to ensure that this unity can be felt in every aspect of our school. Mrs. Barrett's door is always open to staff, families, and students. Coming to work in an atmosphere where children are first, as well as their staff being a top priority, helps us all to work with our students in a happier, more optimistic manner. What we feel, they feel, and it carries over in their positive behavior and their high academic performance. We attribute this positive connection to Mrs. Barrett, who has worked tirelessly to ensure that her students and staff are the best that they can be. She is the heart of our school, and we truly believe that losing her would be detrimental to all, especially our children. With this being said, we ask that you kindly consider every avenue possible that would allow Mrs. Barrett to remain Chirra's principal. As always, we thank you for your help and support from the entire staff of Chirra School.
Good evening, everybody. I'm a parent of 2 students at Chirra, and I think we all just need to take a moment, look around this room, look at the staff that's here after just hearing from them, the support that Chirra has for their principal. taking the time out of your busy lives to be here. It is a unique thing, and I hope the board recognizes the unity and solidarity that the staff is showing you right now in the decision that is before you, before this budgetary process is over. I come to you also in support of Ms. Barrett at Shara. She has always been supportive of the needs for my children. We presently have twins in the school. Ms. Barrett, as you heard, knows my children by their first name. That says a lot about her as an administrator, as an instructor, and as a person. And over the years, we have sent a couple of emails to her with some questions and concerns during her time as principal. As busy parents, those emails have been sent after hours, sometimes over the weekends. And those emails weren't sent with any expectation that she answer them during her time. But every time she did. Communicating with parents is so important. Every response she provided was not just thorough, comprehensive, professional, but it was also tinged with her particular dry sense of humor. Ms. Barrett and her staff, who are here before you today, are empathetic. They're upfront, they're concerned, and want what is best for my children. I know that, and with us as parents here, they answer all of our questions. And why am I saying this? Right? What does this have to do with this whole thing? I'm a teacher in New York City. I've been teaching for 21 years in the same school. During my time in that school, I've had 5 different school administrators. And I've observed how different leadership styles are received by staff and parents, and how those styles drive students and staff to want to do their best, both individually as students and collegially and supportive as professionals. Leadership style impacts the learning and working environment in the school. And I think you just heard that from Ms. Regan, that very, very notion. When anybody walks into Shara, the sense of warmth, the sense of family and school community is tangible. Ms. Barrett exemplifies all of these ideals. To place another administrator as principal at Shara would be a disservice to the school community, our students, tearing down all those relationships that have been built and those connections that Ms. Barrett and her staff have been able to build. And it's also going to impact the learning environment. After so many leadership changes have already happened at Shara, Shara does not need another leadership change. My wife and I are thrilled that the board has been able to save the jobs of the paraprofessionals in the district, and you see the red throughout the room. Paras. To make such a decision based on budgeting and after hearing from OBEA with those issues, it is my fervent hope that this is just a nasty rumor and that both the superintendent and the Board of Education will keep Principal Barrett as a school leader at Shara, and to do otherwise would be a disservice to the Old Bridge community. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Dr. Hoker, members of the board, and everyone here tonight. My name is Mariella Francisco, and I am a second grader at Shara School. I am standing here tonight because our beloved Principal Miss Barrett is in danger of leaving our school. This makes me very sad and frustrated. Mrs. Barrett is the best principal we could have. She helps out with a lot of events. She is always smiling and greeting everyone in our school. She always talks with me and gets to know who I am. She knows things about me because she takes the time to really get to know me. I see her do all this with all the students in our school. She knows everyone by name and has a special connection with each person. Mrs. Barrett is unique. Her heart is full of love for all our students. She treats us like we are her own children. She is always kind and teaches us to be kind as well. I think this is the best gift she could give us. If you ask me, nothing's more important in life, and she knows that. I love when she calls us down, when she calls the students down to sign the Be Kind wall. She is a funny and kind principal. When I heard that she might be forced to leave our school, I couldn't believe my ears. How could they take away our principal? There is no one who can do what she does and do it so well. I will be devastated if she is not our principal next year. I know that my friends agree. I'm asking if you please find a way to keep Miss Barrett as our school principal. Who else would call me Mariella, Mariella, Mariella every day and make me smile? I love Mrs. Barrett. Good evening. My name is Lily DiMartini, a third grader at Schwab School. Today, I just want to say that Miss Barrett is a great principal and was a great teacher too. When she became principal, she did a lot of great things. Every morning, she goes in every classroom to say hello and good morning. She expects us to do our best and be kind. She also made the kindness wall. We did art when she was a principal, we did art for the sky when we made an astronaut. It was so much fun. We made a lot of big and amazing changes here in Chihuahua. We love her. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Joseph Ford, and I'm a third grade student at the Walter M. Schwab School. Mrs. Barrett is so special to us. She greets us every morning and makes me feel important. She teaches everyone to be kind and respectful to others. Mrs. Barrett cares about every student in the school and helps us to grow to be better people. I'm happy to be here to support Mrs. Barrett because every day she supports me. If Miss Barrett leaves our school, every child would feel empty. Without her, the Chihuahua Tigers can't roar. Please keep Mrs. Barrett in our school. Chihuahua won't be the same without her. Thank you.
It's obvious that Mrs. Barrett has a lot of fans here today, so let's give it up for her. I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share my thoughts today. I'm definitely grateful for it. So, change is inevitable, and I understand that we have to be prepared for it. But consistency, wherever possible, is always the key to success. So I'm going to say that again. I know that change is inevitable, and I understand that we have to be prepared for it, but consistency, wherever possible, is always the key to success. It's obvious that Mrs. Barrett is a special human being and an asset to the Old Bridge school system. She is truly the heartbeat and soul of Shira Elementary. From the moment she became principal, there was an obvious shift in the level of enthusiasm and engagement from the students, the teachers, and the parents. I believe that this is a result of her consistent leadership presence and her willingness to go above and beyond. Every time, and I mean every single time I walk into that school, I see Mrs. Barrett engaging with the students, the teachers, and any of the parents that are there. She is a leader, she is an advocate, and she's a friend. We're all lucky to have her as our principal. But what I also know is that Old Bridge is lucky to have all of the other principals in all of the other elementary schools. Because I know that if we had parents here from Cheesequake and McDivitt and Grissom and Madison Park, they too would talk about how great their principals are because they truly are. And this is exactly why the challenge that the Board of Education faces is not an easy task. You're in a difficult situation, and it doesn't have an easy and an obvious outcome. I understand that. So as you consider the future placement of Mrs. Barrett and all of the other school principals, I ask that you consider and honor the importance of consistency. See, when our kids are young, we teach them that consistency is key for them to succeed. We don't let them brush their teeth one time and say, great, you have personal hygiene. We remind them that you have to be consistent and you have to brush your teeth every single day in order to succeed. At school, we don't allow our kids to read one book and then consider them a reader. We teach them the importance of consistency, and we encourage them to read every single day for the rest of their lives. We don't let our kids practice multiplication tables or spelling words or musical instruments one time and then just call them mathematicians, literary geniuses, or rock stars. Because we absolutely understand the importance of consistency, and we encourage them to do it in practice every day. So, if consistency is the key for our students,
then it's also the key to success for building and maintaining schools of character in Old Bridge. The last 2 years for Mrs. Barrett, with Mrs. Barrett as principal of Shira, has been great. But what we really need from her is consistency. We need her consistent leadership day in and day out if we are to continue on our current trajectory. Again, I understand that there will be changes in 2019 and beyond, and that is okay. But wherever possible, especially when it comes to our principals and our leaders, please consider the importance of consistency. Thank you, Mrs. Barrett, for being a wonderful principal, and thank you to the Board of Education for your time. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Terry Bonomo, and I'm a parent of a second grader at Carpenter School. And apparently, Ms. Barrett is well-loved, and I'm lovely to hear that. I'm from Carpenter, so go Mr. McHugh. But I'm here to speak on something about the last board meeting that is really standing out to me, that came from this Board of Education, and that was the word, something's got to give. Those words are still resonating in my head after the last meeting. And although we are extremely grateful and elated that the paraprofessionals are safe, that does not give them or the parents of special needs students back the 3 months of torment, worry, and anxiety. We are thankful, but yet the parents, teachers, staff, and students at Cheesequake still go through those emotions daily. I'm here tonight because I'm still appalled that this board, who publicly shared the negotiations update and put the teachers on the spot at the last board meeting, are asking for a just 1-year pay freeze and lesser insurance coverage, and for paras to switch to single-only coverage. And I quote, "When a family is in crisis, every member of that family comes together and tries to do its best for the family." However, as much as Old Bridge is a kind of family, you are asking teachers, paras, and anyone under contract to jeopardize their own family for their job because of your mismanagement and your lack of transparency. Yes, the state cuts were hurtful, but they were predictable. Many people are living paycheck to paycheck as it is. Add in the cost of insurance, and they will not make it. Simple. They won't make it. How about their families? You have employees as single mothers and fathers, widows and widowers, grandparents raising their grandchildren, and many other circumstances where they rely on their employers to look out for their best interests. Are you really suggesting that they sacrifice their own homes for that of the district? I'm speaking as a single mom myself that would have no other option at that point if I lessened my insurance coverage. Not to mention, many people under this current contract have been frozen since the addition of steps in the last contract. But it's just 1 year, right? Further, you are so willing to close a school and displace those students and threaten the jobs of many non-tenured teachers, some of whom are by far the most phenomenal teachers I have met. Again, because you have not done your job, our family must suffer. And that's just not fair. So if I go back to something's got to give, you have cited that you would save $2.1 million if salaries are frozen, $1.5 million if teachers switch to lesser coverage, and $2 million if paras say change to single-only benefits. But you are asking them to sacrifice their own families. These teachers, paras, and staff go above and beyond already for the children of this district. They give and give and give on a daily basis. Do you know how much money they already contribute outside of their pocket for their classrooms, from teaching supplies to Lysol wipes, awards, stickers? I know I'm a teacher, so I get it. They go to PTA fundraisers, their own time, but yet they're the ones that are going to have to take a cut. You asked for suggestions, but how about answering some of the questions that our union president has asked already? And maybe there can be an answer, and people will be more willing to work with you to find and offer suggestions. We just want to know, Where did the rest of the money go? Why didn't you prepare for these predictable increases, such as staff, custodial costs, insurance? Until you are willing to be open and transparent about your decisions, it is hypocritical to ask your employees to give back and to give the public a glossed over scenario of what has really happened. The community deserves to know this information, and your teachers, parents, staff, students, and parents deserve better than this. Something's got to give. How about you give us an honest and open information that we deserve and are entitled to know? Thank you.
All right. Hello. My name is Carrie. I'm the Cheesequake PTA president. First, I just want to say it's ridiculous that the meeting's held in this room. It's really not appropriate. I can't hear anything. I can't see anything. I should have just stayed home and had some popcorn and watched it from home because I would have been able to hear what was going on. But that being said, I'm here anyway. And I just want to say, in the beginning, you told the Cheesequake parents that selling the Nike base and closing Cheesequake School would get the district through the next few years, and that we had to make that ultimate sacrifice to save the district. And as much as we don't like it, we realize that our kids will be in a better, in a good place. They'll be fine. As much as we don't want you to close Cheesequake, it's a great school and we love it. But you told us it would help us get district through the next few years. But now we're hearing that you're going to cut freshman sports. So how are we saving the district when you were going to privatize the para, you're going to make the teachers take a pay freeze, you're going to cut the freshman sports? So why even close Cheesequake then? We're not even saving anything. And I think that it's ridiculous to cut freshman sports in a high school that big. That's all I want to say. How can we trust anything that you say? I really don't, we can't trust anything that anybody says anymore because you say one thing and do another. That's all.
Hi. Can you hear me? Good evening. So I'm here to talk about Miss Barrett. My son Christopher is in the 2nd grade at Shira. I'm going to start with a letter he wrote to you guys. You're welcome for not bringing him. So those that know him. He wrote, "Dear Board of Education, Mrs. Barrett helps me with a lot of stuff that I have trouble with when I am frustrated. She helped me with homework, and she gets people for me to do math with. She let me help out with the kindergartners, which is one of my favorite things to do because it is amazing," with 3 exclamation points. "They are very nice, and I like helping them, and it is my old kindergarten teacher. I may want to be a teacher now. Mrs. Barrett always tells everyone to smile and be kind. She is the best principal in Shira history," and there's 9 exclamation points after that one. "Love, Chris." So I just want to, Mrs. Barrett is not your average principal. She ensures she goes the extra mile no matter what it takes. I have sat in way too many meetings with her this year, and I can tell you that firsthand she genuinely was looking out for the best interest of Chris. She once stated to me, "I truly adore Christopher, and I do what I want. I do what I do because I want to, not because I have to." And that statement right there is Mrs. Barrett. Mrs. Barrett put many amazing programs in place, which I'm sure you have heard about, or will hear about with this amazing turnout we have for her. One specific program is the Guiding Nights program. For those who don't know, the Guiding Nights program is where students from the high school would come after school and assist a handful of Shira students with their homework. It's only once a week, even though I requested 5 days a week, it's only once a week. But just kidding. Christopher came home one day and told me that Mrs. Barrett helped him with his homework because they were short on helpers. I'll repeat that. Mrs. Barrett sat with Christopher and helped him with his math homework. That in itself is an award. This day, of course, ended with Christopher teaching her how to make a fingerprint with a white piece of paper, a pencil, and some tape. Christopher was excited to bring it home and show me, and still talks about this day like it was the best day ever. As a parent, this is the coolest thing ever to hear. It's not every day your child comes home bragging they taught the principal how to make a fingerprint from pencil and tape. I ask you each, please, just, I'm sure you have, but take a turn and go observe for a day, just one day. Go see how Shiraz runs, see how involved she is. Just watch at any point in the day the staff is working together in unity. Just like our Art for the Sky program, the saying on the back of the shirt, I'm sure somebody's wearing it, is "We are one." That is Shiraz, and that's all thanks to her. They are one. Mrs. Barrett has stood by Christopher's side, and we will stand by her side always. This is only one piece of our story, and only one student's story. As you have heard, or will hear more tonight, there are so many ways Mrs. Barrett is irreplaceable. Please listen to us, parents. We are the ones watching and witnessing how incredible of a principal she is, and what a mistake you might be making if you decide to move her. Also, another important fact that I would really like to mention here is I'm a very active member of SEPTA, Special Education PTA of Old Bridge. And as many of you know, because you attend the meetings, Mrs. Barrett is the only principal that shows up to every single meeting. I'm going to say that again. I don't know, only principal, okay? And she doesn't just come to one, the beginning one, no, she comes to every single one. And if she happens to not come to one, she somehow finds me at dismissal to make sure she didn't miss something that was important. That alone should just make your decision right there. I have two children. I mean, one is in special education and one is in general education, and she shows up every single time. Every time. She's not only involved in general education, but she's involved in special education. She has a wonderful ABA program at Shiraz. She's important, and she supports all abilities wholeheartedly. I understand your position as the board, and I understand how hard of a decision this is, but I ask you to consider and give our kids the consistency they deserve. Quality over quantity. That's always the expression. Tenure doesn't mean anything to us parents or staff. Just walk into that school. Let Mrs. Barrett continue to make Shiraz the incredible school she has created it to be the past 2 years. Thank you. Tell them your name.
Aviana
No,
Mayala.
you gotta talk to them. Tell them who you are. Talk to these people over here.
I am Aviana Mayala.
What grade are you in?
First grade.
And tell them why Miss Barrett is so special today.
She teaches us to be kind.
And what else? What else does she do? She says hello every morning.
She says hello every morning.
And what else? God, you gotta tell them. I don't know. What else? She let you be the principal. Right?
She let me be the principal.
And tell them don't take her away.
Don't take her away. My name is Jake. I'm in first grade, and I'm here for Miss Barrett. Miss Barrett is the kindest principal in the Shiraz school. And if Miss Barrett moves, that may be very sad. And if Miss Barrett is still here for us, then we could clap for Miss Barrett. And Miss Barrett wanted the kindness though, because people are kind in our Shiraz school. So we are kind to another, and we should always be kind to each other.
My name is Kim Scully, and my son is a first grader at Cheesequake School. First, I wanted to thank the Shira father who complimented us on our principal as well. And you're absolutely right, because Dr. Ferry is amazing. Dr. Ferry is so amazing that, as you all know, he led his team to become the only blue ribbon school in the district. And I think it's really great that you guys are all here tonight, and I think it's really unfortunate that you're losing your principal. And I think what's more unfortunate is that you're losing your principal because my son is losing his entire school and all of his teachers, and his nurse, who I called last week, panicked about something ridiculous. Mrs. Diamond, I saw you, thank you again. And she had him and called him right down and put me at ease. But, so that's one thing I want to say. The other thing I wanted to address is because we didn't get a chance to share comments at the end of last month's meeting. Last month, the board voted to move forward with the closing of Cheesequake and the demotion of your principal. So one of the things that came up was, it was reiterated again and again that this was not the official closing of Cheesequake. And my question is, if this isn't the official closing of Cheesequake and you claim that you don't want to close Cheesequake and that this is, you know, something you don't want to do, then why move forward and waste our time? And if that's not the case, then I'm really confused, because I remember in January we talked about closing Cheesequake, and like Carrie said, there were a lot of really good reasons, and one of the reasons was that Cheesequake was valued at $6 or $7 million. Now we come to find out that we really have no idea how much Cheesequake is valued for. In fact, it very well may come back that Cheesequake isn't even worth selling. So where do we go from here?
Good evening, everyone. I don't know if you can hear me. Ralph Mascarella. I have the twin boys over at McDivitt. I've been to the last couple of meetings, and I'm not going to address anyone here. I want to address the public of Old Bridge. Mrs. Barrett, I don't know if you're here. I don't have the privilege or the honor of knowing you personally, but you sound like a really cool person, and you sound like you are an amazing principal. I want to address Old Bridge. I've been coming to the last couple of meetings, and I just want to let you know that from a parent from McDivitt, I don't know if I have a card in the game or not, but what affected Cheesequake has affected you. What affected the paraprofessionals has now trickled down to everyone in Old Bridge. We need to keep coming to meetings. We need to have everyone rally. This is what we're doing right now. Everyone is here because it affects you. Why are we waiting for it to affect anyone? That's my question. We should all be rallying every single meeting. I am very proud to see that there are more people here that the standing room only, even though it is a smaller room. But it's nice to see that. At every meeting, it basically was standing room only. We should continue that. That's what I want to say. I'm very proud to say that I am part of the Old Bridge community because we do rally. And that's all I really wanted to say. So thank you very much. And I hope that, Shira, Mrs. Barrett, I hope everything works out for you. Thank you so much for your time.
Mrs. Shira sounds like she is lightning in a bottle. I'm here to represent Cheesequake School, not because I'm a parent in the school any longer. I'm not. I've had children go through the school, through the high school, and they're all out of school. But I've been involved in Board of Ed activities since 1986 and served 18 years from the period of 1993 till 2017. I did a lot of the logistic work, so I know from what I speak. I think there's one thing I want to address to the Board of Education. The only job that, as a part of their code of ethics to be a school board member, one of the things that it says is I will carry out my responsibilities not to administer the schools, but together with my fellow board members to see that they are well run. Now that's a bit of a difficult question to sentence to even analyze. On one hand, you're not supposed to see that you don't administer it, but you are charged. The only employee that they hire evaluate, discipline, rehire, or fire is the superintendent, whoever he or she may be. So in a decision of this magnitude, they owe this township how shall I say this? They owe this township nothing less than to do their homework, which is everything that we expect all of our kids to do, and they expect them to do. And I don't think, quite frankly, that was the case in this motion to close Cheesequake School. We were told it's too old, we were told it's unsafe, we were told a lot of things, none of which came to be true. Of the 3 schools that were considered, it was in the best shape from an engineering standpoint and from a structural standpoint. That's not what you were told in the paper. So my suggestion is you have over 2 weeks to go back and relook at the information, ask questions. There's a treasure trove of information on the New Jersey DOE site that can give you any question you want to ask. There's various reports that are accessible, the engineering reports, all of those things. That school has a tax assessed value of $1.4 million. There are other schools that have far more than that are in this group, and one which is not. I'm not going to name the schools at this point. But what I will tell you is this is an opportunity for Cheesequake to get some support from Shira, because if we succeed in keeping that school open to the betterment, in my opinion, of the district for at least another year to get a proper evaluation before you make a final decision, then your principal lives for another year. So whatever you can do would certainly be appreciated. Thank you.
Andrew Lewis, Vice President of the OBEA. I want to address the unprofessionalism of some of the people sitting at this table over the past 2 meetings. I would have thought that we'd have bigger issues based on the state of our district than what the OBEA posts on social media, but I guess not. The OBEA has taken the higher road throughout this. One of the students who spoke said, always be kind, and I wish that the same was said for those sitting up there. We've worked together in the past, the charter school issue being one example in the past couple of years. Throughout the course of this process, the OBEA has done a number of actions to help restore some of the funding to the district. Petition cards, which our members and community members have signed. Last week, we held an event at Bagel Boy, where we signed over 1,000 postcards. And despite promotion by ourselves on social media, our very active board and administration on social media lacked the help in promoting that event. Our president testified at the state budget hearing. I was scheduled to testify, but I yielded my time to Mr. Cittadino. Instead of support, working together, we're attacked. The OBEA is attacked meeting after meeting. Take a look at other districts which are in a similar situation regarding their funding. Their administrative team and the local association are working together. Toms River had sent busloads down to Trenton. I would have thought that a district of character showed it. Instead, we have a district of characters. With mediation coming up right after spring break, I'd hope that you'd rather take the high road than see over 1,000 red shirts outside before that meeting.
Hi, I'm Ricardo Pollock. I don't really have a question. I guess I'm just another Cheesequake parent that's ticked off and just tired of it. I think it's wonderful that the Shira teachers came out to support the principal. I wish our teachers could come out to support our school, but they can't because of the position that they're in. So we're going to speak for them. We love our school, we love our principal, the amazing things we've done, and we don't know what to do. We've written everybody in Trenton and anybody who would listen. We've called, we've emailed, we've met with them, we've texted them, we've tweeted them, I've done more technology than I really knew how to do before. But now we're in the position of, if we win, if we keep Cheesequake open, what cuts, what more things will our district incur? And that puts Cheesequake in a really bad position. Yay, we win, but what happens to the rest of the district? So now, as Cheesequake parents and teachers, do we have to just sit here and take it? Because if we fight, then the district gets hosed more. So, thanks, because what do we do?
And we're really frustrated.
We're also incredibly frustrated in the Cheesequake community because we've been dealing with all the stress that you guys, which we totally empathize with, since January 24th, when we were told that our school was maybe closing, maybe not closing. Now it's maybe not worth enough money to actually close and maybe being turned into a teacher's annex of some kind. Nobody actually knows. We were told where our kids may possibly go to school 3 weeks ago. My son is a kindergartner. I am absolutely appalled with the way that we've been treated in the Cheesequake community since January. So we totally get where you guys are coming from, but think about, from our position, the back and forth for 3 months, 4 months, and it's not over yet. And like Ricardo said, we're in a terrible position where no matter what the outcome is, we still look like the bad guys now, no matter what. And it's a real shame because we are a blue ribbon school. We have high quality teachers, a wonderful principal, a very small school that has just a wonderful sense of community. We're Title I school. We have amazing academics, and it's a gem. It is an absolute wonderful school. And what has been happening till this day is disgraceful, really. And we appreciate all of the efforts from the Board of Education. I've emailed all of you, you know my name by now, I'm sure. And many of you are trying to do what you can do. I don't know what the solution is, but we feel like we have been really mistreated in this entire process, and it's just very disheartening. So, Mr. Weber has been a community member for a number of years. He made many suggestions at the last meeting. I don't know if any of you saw it or heard it. There was a lot of back and forth, but have any of those ideas ever been considered or pursued, or are they completely invalid? Because at the end of the day, we just want everybody to put their weapons down and do what's best for our children. This is about our children and nothing else. So I'll take another 6 years of stress if we can all do what's best for our kids, and we just don't feel like that's happening today. So we appreciate what you have done. We hope that you continue to do more, and just, we were told in January we'd have transparency, but all we've heard is yes, no, and trust me, I've met with our assemblyman, my senator, I met with him in his office. I've been to the Senate hearings, and I am not a political person, I'm a kindergarten mom. So I'm just I'm ready to go to sleep and take a nap for the next 3 years. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Janice DeMartini. I have a daughter at Shira School, but I had kids in almost every school. I had kids in Shepherd, I've had kids in Sauk, and I have kids graduated high school. Mrs. Barrett is truly one of the best principals I've had out of all of my 4 children. When we speak about those we truly admire and respect, we will often say that they have gone above and beyond. As we are all members of the teaching community, we do know that a school is only as good as its leader, and that is why Shira is great. We would be remiss if we did not take a moment to acknowledge many of the new programs, initiatives, achievements that have taken place under the direction of Mrs. Barrett. We had the one school-wide theme, one school, one book, Humphrey and Og the Frog, the Battle of the Books, the Guarding Nights, Student Appreciation Week, Principal Lunch Bunch, Honor Roll Breakfast, Student Team Building Activities, National Inclusive Schools Week Participant, Be Kind Initiative, the Be Kind Wall, Kindness Ambassadors, Pay It Forward, Grissom, Kindness Ninjas, We're All Wonders, 18 Certified Kind Classrooms, Annual Great Kindness Challenge Participant, Therapy Dog Visits for Multi-Grade Classrooms, the School Store, Project Blue, awarded Promising Practice, 3rd Grade Digital Magazine Club, Ned Show Assemblies, Art Soup, Art Show Club, Art and Music Festival, Art for the Sky. Music fills the halls with joys, welcoming students before winter break with music played by bands and orchestra students. They have Family Climate Survey, positive responses. Welcome Back Social, thankful pictures posted in entryway. School Twitter account, school bus evacuation drills. Van evacuation drills, bi-weekly. Educator of the Month program. Team building activities for staff. 10-day winter break challenge. mindfulness-focused training, Pass the Rack Random Act of Kindness, virtual faculty meetings, monthly technology integration days, PTA collaboration, teacher grant, painting and pizza with the perfect person, annual talent show, community involvement, school improvements. We had Eagle Scout projects, Girl Scout projects, kind company donation, Robert Wood John, RWJUH safety ambassadors, collaborates with education administrations in other districts, visit to showcase programs that can be transferred to other schools, Pennies for Patients bingo fundraiser, Donors Choose project funded for the kindergarten, 4th grade, 5th grade, recognize staff in the top 100 in New Jersey, top park scores in the district and state, 2-time district Turkey Bowl winner, trophy winner. These are everything that Mrs. Barrett, in a year and a half that she's been principal, that she has done for Shira.
Hi, I'm Gina Nugent. I'm the Shira PTA president. You've heard from our kids and parents, so I don't need to go on about how wonderful Miss Barrett is. But as a president, and when we are trying to do things for our school, Miss Barrett is always open to everything, all of our suggestions. She sends me text all weekend. It's even on her days off. Her focus is Shira School. You're never going to find a person more passionate about this. I'm not sure if you're aware, but I've been in Shira since 2009. Since 2010, we have had 10 administrative changes, meaning principals in and out. There has been 10. That is a lot, and us as parents feel that our kids deserve some consistency. The list that Janice had wrote, I can also forward all of you on email, and she might have even missed a few things, and that's just in 2 short years. The meeting in Trenton, I know that some of you went. I don't feel that any of us had ever heard any feedback as to what happened there. So that's a little alarming to me. I don't know how much was fought for extra funding. You guys seem to just be focused on closing Cheesequake, and you've heard from their parents. They don't want that either. Has anyone considered what it would cost if we ever need to reopen Cheesequake? You're looking to save money currently. In a couple years, with the amount of houses that I've heard are being built all through Old Bridge, up and down Route 9, up and down Texas Road, where are all those kids going? If you need to reopen Cheesequake, that is going to cost the district that much more money. You can't just have a temporary fix now. You really got to think about what we need in the next couple of years. I mean, from going back to the Trenton meeting, is there something that we can find answers from? Like, is there anything posted? Because we heard that people went, but I haven't heard anything, and I've tried to ask. There is a School Funding Reform Act that dates back to 2008 that is 113 pages long. I don't know enough about this stuff. I did not read it, but from what I gather from there, you knew that we needed to stop spending. That goes back to 2008. How come we kept spending? We were spending money that we did not have, and we knew state funding was coming to an end. And now we are left with, you guys all keep your jobs, and we are looking at a school closing and our principal leaving. There are several suggestions that can be made in order to keep our district running as it is, and I just want to make sure that you guys have exhausted every option. I don't want to say my thoughts because it might be offensive to some, but I can email them. And the next thing that I did here, not sure if it's true, but my understanding is that the budget gets approved for next year in May. Is that right? And in the budget, you do not have Cheesequake School there. So if we do not come to these meetings, they are going to go and pass this. Cheesequake's going to get closed, and there's nothing we can do. This seems to be a sneaky little process, and one of the gentlemen that was here earlier did state that we need to come to these things to know what's going on. We assume everything is just running smoothly. Clearly, it is not. I mean, to go back to 2008 and we're in 2019, it's actually a disgrace. Cheesequake doesn't want to close their school. We don't want to lose our principal.
Good evening. I just wanted to, okay. Good evening, Board. I just wanted to address one of the things that's going on, and of course we've got a million budget cuts, there's a lot going on, but it's great to see so many parents out here. To the parent that said that we should be at board meetings, I agree. But there are tons and tons of parents in this town who cannot be here tonight because they're working second and third jobs, they don't have cars, they're infirm, they're handicapped. They may not know about it. There are a lot of them in our school district, as everybody knows. Unfortunately, it seems like some of our most at-risk students are the ones that are going to be most affected by these budget cuts. And I'm just asking here tonight, I stood up at another meeting when we changed the summer school, or got rid of the summer school in the middle school. I stood up and I expressed my opinion and said that, you know, I've personal experience, I've been there, this was a horrible idea. I know it's a budget cutting, I'm not trying to solve all your problems tonight, but that was not a good move. And I just don't feel that was considered. And I can tell you today I was at a meeting, and I'm seeing the direct results. What was done with summer school was not a good idea. It's not going to work, and those students are going to be paying the price. We had an announcement yesterday. I'm still hearing conflicting reports concerning sports programs, including the busing. One of the things that going back to summer school, one of the things I asked was, why keep it for free? Why not have people pay for summer school? Truthfully, I mean, if you earn your way to summer school, you know, it's cheaper than paying for a tutor. It's a good program. I know what we do in summer school. We do great stuff. And I think it's a great option because I see these at-risk students. We had the meetings today. Them not getting the help they need is going to cost our district and our town a lot more. Now we're hearing about sports and transportation. One of them was eliminating all transportation for non-academics from middle schools. And again, I wrote a little story here. I've been coaching for 17 years, I've been in Sandburg for 21. Every year, and there are people who attest to it, I got child study team, administration that comes to us and says, here, we want this kid to be on your track team. Don't worry about it. We know they're not really, they're not supposed to be here, but if you don't take them, they're going home. You don't want them going home. They're just going to get in trouble at home, or they have nothing to go home to. And if you cut transportation out, these parents here that are spending the time, they'll come pick up their kids. They'll go to their games. They'll buy them a lacrosse stick. But I can tell you now, the students that are going to be affected are the students that most need to be in school. Literally, I'm not making this up, that there are administrators that come to us and say, whatever we have to do to keep these kids in school, we got to keep them in school. Take them to YMCA, put them on track, have them do managers. We have kids that are managers who can't play a sport that just come to be there to keep paperwork for us. If we cut out transportation, it's going to be a huge problem for after school. And they've been talking about clubs. We teachers, by the way, volunteer tons of time. Half the programs you see after school, we're not getting paid for. We volunteer. We do tons of things. And now those kids that we volunteer to keep are going to be sent back home to wander around the streets of Old Bridge. It's just, I'm asking you to consider that when it comes to busing. I don't have the solution to all your budget problems, but the most at-risk kids are going to be most affected if we cut transportation out. And again, we're trying to help. We teachers bust our butts, keeping kids occupied, happy, whatever we could do for them. But there's only so much we could do if they're not allowed to stay there. And it's going to affect everybody else. I have more notes, but I think I made my point. I'm sorry, pay to play. It's obviously something that other districts have. I don't want people paying money, but we don't have that option anymore. The taxpayers are going to be affected. The people that are involved, if they could pay to play, it's not that big of a price. I don't know what it would be, but please at least consider it when it comes to transportation or sports. They're invaluable. And we've said it, that used to be our thing. Athletics, arts, and academics. All right? That will devastate all of our sports. It really, really will. So I please ask you to consider that before any moves are made concerning that. Thank you.
Okay, I want to thank everybody who came out. I want to thank everybody who spoke. I'm sorry? Oh, the mic's still on. Can somebody shut that mic? Thank you. At this point, we're closing the portion of the meeting for the hearing of the residents. And moving on to old or new business.
Mrs. Cowley, can I ask Mr. Parton something? This is kind of out of character, and I don't know if it could be done, but can I address some of the concerns generically, even though I was not mentioned personally? Is that something I could do or no? Yes, I can?
If it's generically, yes, Mr. DePrima, I would encourage you not to name names, but unless you're speaking for yourself.
Is there any problem?
I think we're kind of at old and new business and good of the order altogether. Mr. DePrima,
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead.
First of all, Mr. Mara, thank you for trying to clarify many misconceptions. That's the only name that will be mentioned. I've heard a lot of things tonight. The first thing on my list is about freshman athletics. I heard that a few times. I don't think anybody up here has ever said anything about freshman athletics, so I'm not sure what that's about. Well, I know what it's about, but it's never been said officially, so again, it's just a rumor. Somebody said something about what cuts have been made so far. So far, nothing. The budget is not, excuse me, official and complete until May 2nd, so anything that's been said or done is hearsay right now. I've heard that we should have been prepared for increases. Some of the people that said that were I've been part of negotiations for a few years now, and no matter what was available, it seemed like more was always wanted. So we tried to prepare, but you can't always do that. We've heard about Cheesequake and Paras, and we hear you. Believe me, we hear you. But I think it's also our responsibility to explore every option. If we left one stone unturned, then we're not doing our due diligence to the community. I heard that there was a plan was devised for somebody's replacement. I resent that because I've never been part of any plans for anything. That's not what I'm here for. As far as the decline in enrollment, there would be one choice for that money. You can't save it. We only, just like a lot of you know the PTA rules, I think it's 2% you're allowed to carry over or something like that. Don't quote me. So that'll be in the newspaper. But same thing with us. We can only carry over X amount of dollars. So we know, I think the phrase was hold harmless or something like that. If we know we're getting the money, we have to use it. It's either use it or, I don't even know what the or is because you can't save it. You can only save X amount of dollars. Which brings me to a later point about all the wonderful programs that are in place in the schools. Yeah, they're in place because of people, but they're also in place because of the money being spent. What else? On a personal note, there was something about placement on the ballot. There is a conception that depending on what ballot place you're in, you might have an edge in the election. I don't know if I really believe that. On a personal note, last year I ran with two other people uncontested, and there was a record turnout of votes. So does the placement really matter? I'd like to believe we were put there because the people wanted us there. I mean, I got over 10,000 votes in a town of 60,000 people. I was really proud of that. As far as something was mentioned about a Democratic Party, I am the least political person you'll ever meet in your life. I am unaffiliated. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. If there's any other choices, I don't even know what they are. Politics do not belong on the board. As far as Mrs. Barrett, that's a name I think I can mention. I had the honor of being the board president when she was put in place. I understand what everybody is saying. That's why she was awarded the position. She was very qualified for it. I know she's done a wonderful job. I don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. I guess that's pretty much it. It's really getting to a point like there's just so many misconceptions. And I don't know what else to do, but we still do have some time, and maybe I'm naive, maybe I'm optimistic, but hopefully this will all work out. Thank you.
Good evening. First, it's very refreshing to see so many people here tonight speaking their mind. I think it's very important. And I want to echo one of the parents who was here. I think that we need more people who are engaged and who are watching and listening so they can understand the facts that are presented by the Board of Education. There's a lot of facts out there. Some of them are erroneous. Some of them are close to being true. Some are exactly true. But I do commend for everyone coming out here to listen. One thing I do want to say real quick is that Trish Barrett is a friend of mine. Trish is a beautiful person. She's a great principal. I agree with everyone and everything that was said about Trish in this room. My son is a graduate of Sherrard Elementary School, and I have to say unequivocally that it's one of the finer schools that we have in this district. And Trish is a wonderful person. So, you know, she does have a lot of advocates on this board. We see that, we hear you, we understand, and we're doing everything in our power to try to find a way to make the budget work. You know, we have a fiduciary responsibility here as board members. We have to answer not only to the school community, but that's to all the taxpayers of Old Bridge as well. So, we can't forget that we have a very difficult balancing act, and, we go home stressed, we go home angry, we go home upset when we deal with the budget because there's so many things that we want to preserve and there's so many things we can't preserve. And there's nothing that this board has done that has caused this. Who has caused this is the state legislatures. They're the ones who cut $16 million out of our state aid over the next 5 years. Let there be no mistake or misunderstanding here. This year, it's here. We see it. Next year, it's going to be even worse. So we as board members have been commissioned by the public to try to make things work. We're here to educate our children. That is our foremost responsibility, is the children first. Everything else becomes secondary. And I know that the powers are very important, every teacher is important, everything that we do in this district is important. But ultimately, every board member on this board understands that we have a responsibility to give our children the finest education regardless about the money that we have. So we're commissioned to make it happen, and we're doing that as your board members. And it's not an easy task. So I hear people out there saying, run for the board. Go ahead, run for the board. I welcome it. We need more people to run for the board. And you know what? When you get up here, you're going to be scratching your head that it's very difficult, and it's a very, how can I put it, time-consuming, tenuous process that a lot of times people don't know what they're getting into. I choose to be a volunteer. This is a volunteer position. We do this for free. We don't get paid. Our time is away from our children and our families to try to devote to this township. Me in particular spend 60 hours a week devoting my time not only to the Board of Education, but as the Deputy Chief of the South Old Bridge Fire Department. So when people talk about me personally, I take offense to it because I'm out here serving my community in 2 different capacities. I'm never home. So when I get scrutinized, it's okay. I'm a big boy, I can take it. But the fact of the matter is that we're here working for the children. And we're going to continue doing that. And any decision that we do make, it's for the children first. Secondly, I want to state that I would be remiss if I didn't correct the record on the misinformation and the slander that Mr. Borsili offered this evening regarding my wife, Christine Dunn, who was a first-grade teacher at Cooper Elementary School. She's been a teacher in this district for 11 years. She was hired in 2009. 2009. She was a teacher at Sherrard School for a year. She worked with Ms. Regan, she worked with Colleen Montori, and she was there for a period of time. And yes, she was riffed. She was riffed because of Christie's draconian cuts, and she came back in, let's see here, she came back in she came back in January 2010. I didn't get elected to the board until April 2011. So the misinformation that's being spewed out there is erroneous, and it's just to rile people up and get people upset. You know what? Mr. Borsili was a board member here for 3 years. He was not reelected twice. And you know what? He shot down every budget that was given for our children. Every budget he voted against. So Mr. O'Neill said if the Board of Education would increase the cap to 2% or our budget each year by 2%, we may not be in this position, which is possibly true. But there's people who are board members who always fought to keep the budget at 0, and he was one of them. So when you speak, please have the facts, and do not try to scandalize and slander people up here who are trying to work for the parents, work for the kids of this district. And you know what? I think I'm doing that. My record speaks very clear. And I will continue fighting for the children of this district and making sure that we make the right decisions to make this district even better and finer, even though we're faced with these draconian cuts over the next 4 years. With that said, I want everyone to know that we will be working together. I understand all this sentiment in this room. I understand the OBEA's position. My wife is a member. We're trying to do the best we can. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to please everyone. It's not going to happen. And if you think this year's rough, next year is going to be worse, the year after that, unless our legislatures find a way to be able to give us the power to raise taxes. And when you raise taxes above the 2%, you're going to have other people coming in this room saying, what are you doing raising my taxes even more? So you have to understand where we're at as board members, and we're trying our best. And we're going to continue fighting for what's right for this district. Believe me, we go home angry, we go home upset because we can't do any more. And you know what? The paraprofessionals, we're able to preserve that. That's very important. I, too, have had a daughter who was special needs. I was a parent of a special needs child for 17 years in this district. And when people were telling me that, you know what, you have no heart, I have a heart because I've been part of SEPTA for 17 years with Allison Voss. I was there. I was a delegate. I worked with her. I worked with everyone in that room. And you know what? My daughter's where she is at today because of SEPTA and the special services that she was provided. And you think that I'm going to go against that? Please, you know, we're all 9 members up here are part of the community, and it stresses us to no end when we get criticized, we get screamed at, because we're thinking we're doing what we best can, and we're going to continue that. So with that said, I'm getting the notion to move forward here, so I'm going to say thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening. Please come
Well,
to
we're
the
not
meetings.
done.
Let's work together.
We're not done. Thank you,
you.
Mr. Dunn.
You're welcome.
I am going to go back to Mrs. DeCaro because she was skipped. I said I'm going to ask you if you have anything to add because you were skipped.
Yeah, I think Mr. DePrima and Mr. Dunn had said everything that I have been thinking. A lot of things were said tonight, and you know, there were many, I had many different reactions to them. First of all, to Shira, I mean, I'm a Shira parent. All 3 of my children went to Shira. I know some of it. Mrs. Regan taught my son Joe in 3rd grade. I love her, and I love Shira. And so I understand your passion and your connection to Shira. You know, but as someone else mentioned tonight, any parent that came from any of the elementary schools love their schools. Every school has its own community. So it's just, we are, as was said, we are in such a difficult position, and no decisions have been made yet. Things are still out there out in the open. Things are being discussed. We're waiting for information to come back on different things. There was something mentioned, you know, have we considered A, B, or C? So many things have been said tonight, but yes, we have considered everything. We sit in executive session. We're going to have an executive session tonight after this meeting is over. We sit in executive session and we talk about everything in detail. And so believe me when I tell you, it's not just a few things that are being considered and let's just throw that out there and try to put a Band-Aid on it. That's not happening. But I do want to mention one thing that was brought up that I kind of, you know, took exception to with reference to the election. I was number 3 on the ballot. When I ran that year, there was 7 people running, and I was number 3. But the notion that I only got elected because I was number 3 on the ballot, I take extreme exception to. Yes, I'm a member of the Democratic Party. I've been a member of the Democratic Party for a year, maybe two tops. But I've been an active member in this district for 20 years. I was PTA president at Shira. I was on the board of Shira. I started Family Fun Night at Shira. You know, I did that. And I've been on that board. I've been on PTA board. I have been working my heart out for this district for 20 years. Volunteer. So for anyone to make an accusation that being on the Democratic Party caused me to be elected, I take exception to. So I wasn't even going to say that tonight, but now I'm going. I'm going to start rambling. But anyway, just please, my main thing for everyone here is just let's try to work together. There's a lot of anger and there's a lot of frustration. A lot of people feel that there's not transparency and there's different information, but what you have to realize is that information is being told, information is being put out there, and then it's being countered by other information that might be misinformation. So you have to really listen and listen with open ears to what's being, and let's try to work together. Let's put our anger aside and our frustration aside and really try to work together. There will be no winners. There will be no winners. It's just a reality. But we need to try to work together to just really do what's best and try to get Old Bridge back to where it was before these massive cuts came by. Thank you.
Ms. Salas Foster.
Thank you. Oh. All right. Thank you everyone for coming out. We do appreciate it. Believe it or not, we do appreciate that you all come out. Everyone is extremely passionate about what's going on. I think everyone out there, I can tell you everybody up here is extremely passionate about that. And when that happens, sometimes our emotions get the best of us. So, I can just talk about a few points that I wanted to just talk about. One of the things said that we knew about this. We knew about the disparity in the state aid versus local. When we did the budget, we would try to keep it less than 2%. Bad move on us, possibly, that maybe we should have gone the 2%. We tried to do the right thing for the taxpayers and try to keep the cost down, so not go up to the full percent. It seems that nipped us in the butt. So hindsight is 20/20. Maybe we should have every year gone up to the max. We didn't. We tried to do what was right for the taxpayers to continue the education we have, but not go to the 2%. It's been said that we knew this was coming. I would ask anyone who has the documentation that we knew in advance we were going to be cut in 2018 by this millions of dollars. We did not know that. We knew that there was a disparity. We knew that someday maybe it would happen. We could not save the money. We could have cut stuff. Maybe we should not have invested in RTI. Maybe we should not have gotten security. Maybe we should not have invested in technology. But what we did with that money is we invested it in our children, and the results are what has happened in the school district. So to say that we should have done something, I would ask somebody, give me that documentation that we knew we were going to lose millions of dollars. There's no documentation that says we knew that. In 2017, the first implication we got is maybe 600,000. We could have done 600,000. We did not know. So what we're trying to do now is figure out how can we do this with the minimum amount of cuts. But there's millions of dollars we have to cut. That's the fact. And we're trying to make it least painful as possible. I appreciate everyone's passion. Nobody wants any of their students' services cut. We don't want it either. So we're just trying to find out how can we do this that has the minimum impact on their education. When people said, what did you do with our money? I compared our 2018-19 to our 14-15 just to see what did we do in the last 5 years. So, and during that time we did have a drop of 3% in our students. So we did over those times, put in full-day kindergarten because that gave us the space and the students. Also during that time, there were about 85 staff positions cut through attrition. So when we saw we had reductions, we didn't fill them. So again, there were actions being done. We just didn't broadcast them because they were able to be done. It didn't impact services. We were able to find that. But we had an increase in special education of 17%, regular education programs 8%, OT, PT, and related services up 24%, instruction, classroom up 16%, salary and benefits up 17%. I mean, we are a service industry. It's people, it's supplies, it costs money, it goes up every year. That's what we did with it. We're not hiding money. I would say, I hear that, you're hiding money. If you find we're hiding money, bring that to the prosecutor. If you think we're hiding stuff, document it and bring it up. Let me know that if you think we're hiding it. I've seen this budget. All the budgets are out on our website. We're audited every year by an outside firm. So if you want to make the accusation, please document it and send it to the prosecutor, because it's being frustrating being accused of stealing and hiding, when all we really are trying to do is, how do we continue to make this a great district? I'm going to continue to do that. As somebody else said, you know what, you can throw the insults, I'm a big girl, I'm fine. I know in my heart what we're doing, and I know we're doing what we're trying to do for our students. A few things came out, that apparently some of the information about our efforts weren't really clear. I know Mr. Sedadino gives them in his superintendent's report. People probably aren't, on a Tuesday night, I get it. I'm not hanging out to Channel 118. So maybe we can try to put that out there to say what we've done. I mean, we've gone to all of our legislators. We went to the DOE. They won't give us answers. We tried to ask them, why is this happening? Where is the formula? They won't give it to us. So we'll put out there what we've done. I can say when we did see at the Senate hearing, and thank you, Mr. Lewis, for, giving us the time so that we could go and speak, the senators seemed receptive of doing some of the changes. They actually stopped and listened to us, which was refreshing, because for other people, they just kind of were on their phones. When we got there, they said, oh, Obridge, we know your problem. As we talked to them, they said, you are the third district we're hearing this from. So this is not a unique problem to Obridge because of our mismanagement. This is because of a formula that's done in hiding that they can't explain to us. So we're going to continue to work together. The reason we say you hear different things is because we say, all right, we'll look at this one activity. Oh, we won't do it. Now we have to find something else. We have to find millions of dollars of savings. And it sucks. There's no other way around it. But we're going to keep working on it. We are still going to put our students first. And hopefully we can get through this and regroup and work together like we have before, instead of ripping each other apart. Thank you.
Mr. Reed? Mr. Singh?
I don't want to repeat most of the things that have been said. They're true, and I just want to say thank you to the public coming out and speaking their mind. That's the only way to get the things done. Come here, speak your mind, say the things, even if they're wrong, at least something will come out. So appreciate whoever spoke today. And one thing I want to add is we are lucky, this district is lucky to have Joe Mara here. He's one of the best person we can have in the administration. So don't ever question his ability to do the things. I've heard good words about him, not from here, but from outside world where the other CPAs have said good things about him, and I have never told him. But he's the good person, so I support whatever he said, and please continue to do so. Thank you very much for coming.
Mr. Silikowski?
You're putting us on a spot here. Okay, I'm not going to repeat everything that was said by the other board members because the community came out, they expressed their feelings, and we're going to take all these things into consideration. The budget doesn't is not closed up until, for another couple of weeks, I guess, isn't it? Somehow we will have many meetings and try to iron a lot of these things out. But again, good luck to all the retirees. And going back to Mr. Healy, I worked with the individual for about 35 years. And he was not only a woodshop teacher. What he did is he was a cooperative education teacher. This individual would teach the classes in the morning for a couple of periods and then go out and place hundreds and hundreds of kids that he did over the years in the trades. And many of them are tradespeople today. You look at the boats in Belmar, they're owned by electricians, carpenters, and he put some of these people into work. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Mr. Solikowski. I just want to echo a couple of things. I'm not going to repeat. I want to thank everybody for coming out. I do think it's unfortunate that the room is, I know there's still a lot of people here, more than we normally see, but in comparison to the way it was packed, it's unfortunate that it's almost empty. And people heard one side of the story from a lot of people. There was somebody who asked what came out of Trenton. I was at a meeting with Senate President Sweeney, Senator Thompson, Assemblyman Dancer, a couple of other people whose honestly names I don't recall, because I am not and never have been affiliated with a political party, so no, that is not how I got up here. They promised to look into certain things, certain legislation to pass to ease our burden. Unfortunately, none of that is coming this year, and that's what we were told. We were told that the legislation, and I will quote him, a lot of these legislation initiatives can be passed during lame duck. I know almost nothing about politics, but I can tell you that's between November and January. So nothing is, unfortunately, nothing is coming to relieve this year. We have heard everything you've said. We understand your frustration. We're frustrated too. Kelly pointed out all of the initiatives that we've started that with the, you know, everybody's saying we took money we weren't entitled to. They gave it to, you're given state aid. You don't ask for state aid. People have accused us of fudging our enrollment numbers. You can't do that. You have to prove your enrollment numbers. Again, the hold harmless, you get this year what you got last year. And what we did with that, we have what I think is an amazing special ed program. And Mrs. Babbitt's sitting right in front of me, okay? No, I'm not gonna put you on the spot, but I know I don't have a child in special education. I have a special needs sister. And I've been a volunteer in this district since my 28-year-old was 5 years old. So on every level, PTA correspondence, recording secretary, president of two out of the 3 PTAs I was involved in. I've seen the growth in this district. That's where the money is. Nobody's hiding any money. This district is as great as it is. The scores are up, the special needs program. We have people fighting to move into Old Bridge, to get into our special needs program. And I know I keep saying special needs, but all of our programs are, look at our award-winning band. All of these things, that's where your money went. And now, it's like the state saying, it's great, you pulled yourself up, you are a great district. Now we're going to take away your money and make somebody else great. And they won't give us the formula, as Kelly said. It's under lock and key. And some of the people that I sat in that room with in Trenton can't tell me why it's under lock and key. They don't know themselves. Mr. Cittadino said the first time he met with some of the legislators, it was based on your declination in enrollment. Okay, well, this district had the same percentage decline in enrollment, but a lower percentage of cut. Oh, but there's other stuff that goes into it. I think actually the words one of the legislators used, and I can be corrected if I'm wrong, but I swear Mr. Cittadino said, he said it's fuzzy math. That's what he said. That's not Mr. Cittadino's words, that was a legislator's words. I don't know which one. Fuzzy math. That's the answer we get. We are just as frustrated. There are a couple of things I want to address. Miss Ellis Foster and I, by the way, came out to Bagel Boy, ready, willing, and able to sign as many cards as possible through no fault of anybody's. They were out of cards. Just wanted to point that out. Unfortunately, the person who made a lot of accusations about people being up here because they're politically affiliated is no longer here to hear the truth about some of his accusations. I'm sure Mrs. Elaine Flynn would be thrilled with what he came very close to accusing her when he spoke about pulling the ballot slots. There was, just to clear something up, only because I've heard it a lot and I can't stay silent on it anymore. My daughter was an employee of this district for years before I came on the Board of Education. And she was being transferred from substitute to a paraprofessional who, by the way, has a degree from Monmouth University in education, was offered the job of paraprofessional before Mrs. Mongan retired. The fact that there's no meeting in July is why it had to be voted on in August after I was appointed. So I take great exception to the fact that I came on the board to volunteer hundreds, literally hundreds of hours, so I could get my daughter a job as a para. And being a para is a very noble, in my opinion, underpaid profession. It's a difficult position. So I'm not taking anything away from that, but the fact that somebody would say that I came on the board to get my daughter a job who has a degree in education, to get her a job as a paraprofessional, and that's why I came on the board, I don't even have any words for that. I can't. I'm sorry, what? Oh, okay. I, myself, and I think I speak for a lot of people up here, I am thrilled that we were able to work things out to keep the paras in district. Thrilled. Just wanted to say that. And then somebody else said that after we said we were going to keep them in, we wanted them to take single coverage. And that wasn't true. I think the thing that was discussed at, I know the thing that was discussed at the last meeting was for people to take a hard look at the zero copay, is that what it's called? The zero copay. It might not be for everybody. I looked at it. I'm not going to ask anybody to take a look at it, but they weren't asked to stay in district and take single coverage. So that is also untrue. I think that's basically all I have. Oh, the things that came out of Trenton, somebody asked what came out of Trenton, in addition to them telling us nothing for this year, sorry, tough luck, will be put on the, unfortunately, on the back of the taxpayers. They are looking into giving districts back their bank cap that was lost. They're looking into increasing the 2% cap. I just want to say, I know I'm probably rambling at this point, but it's really tough to sit up here and listen to people accuse you of all sorts of things, as Kelly said. We are doing everything we can, and you have to understand that, you know, this, I'm not going to point to anybody. This person may be here because they don't want us to do that. They would rather we do this, and you realize that a week later, this group is going to be standing here saying they don't want us to do this, do this. We're doing the best we can. Like my colleague said, we're here to ensure the best education that we can for our students. And that's what we're trying to do with the least amount of impact. But this is a lot of money. And as Mr. Dunn said, unfortunately, next year's going to be worse. So again, I'm rambling, so I think that's all I had to say, except I do want to congratulate all the retirees and thank you for their years of service. And anybody who's still here who is an employee of the district, I thank you for your service. Just please know that we're here for your children and we're doing the best that we can. Thank you. Yes, Dr. Hoker.
I'll be brief. I just want to thank the community for the amazing words and accolades about our principals, our staff, and our schools. This is an incredibly trying time in Old Bridge. Personally, one of the most challenging circumstances I've had to face in my career. I know that the decisions that we have to make are going to impact our Old Bridge family. We've worked very hard to get where we are, and we don't want to lose what we have. Understanding your frustration with what we face, I'm equally frustrated. I can only ensure you that our administrative team will continue to work to give you everything we've got to keep our district going and moving forward. We do want what's best for our students. We want our staff and our community to be happy. We know that the decisions that we have to make are not pleasant. It is clearly a difficult time for everyone, some impacted more significantly than others. We recognize that. Again, we're going to do everything that we can to keep moving forward. I'll end on a high note. 1.5 days to spring break. I think we all very much need a little bit of a break. Our students, our staff, our parents, the board. I will keep my fingers crossed for beautiful sunny weather without rain so that we can all enjoy the outdoors and get some much needed air. So I wish congratulations to our retirements as well, and hope that everyone enjoys spring break. We have an early dismissal on April 18th, Thursday, and we return on Monday, the 29th.
Thank you, Dr. Hoker. If there is nothing else, I need a motion to adjourn, and we are having executive session.
You need a motion actually to go into executive session.
I'm sorry, I need a motion to go into executive session. I'm very tired.
For personnel issues pertaining to the 1920 budget and the superintendent's evaluation.
Can I have a motion? Mr. Carroll?
Did you say budget?
Ms. Alice Foster, seconded. Sorry, I'm on.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're going to executive session. 55. What? I'm not thinking I'm not going myself.
You know what? Wait a minute. I might.